Hi, innermap friends, and welcome to our first live stream. My name is Mitra Manesh. I'm the founder of innermap app, and I thought the best way to start our first live stream is to tell you a little bit about my story and the story of innermap. I was born in Iran and raised around the globe on four continents. Right from the beginning of my life, there were many challenges and topics and issues. I remember that I lost my best friend to cancer when I was very, very young. And then I lost my father in my teens. And then I lost my whole country in my early 20s. And I remember that I had to literally walk out of Iran in the beginning of revolution and war in actually on October 16th of 1980, the day that I never forget. I also lost my marriage, unfortunately, in my early 30s and ended up as a single mother, working three jobs and taking care of my life and my children's life as much as I could. So outside world was not fun, and I couldn't figure it out. And I tried to figure it out because later on in life, I found out that I also have extreme dyslexia. Because as I was growing up and as I was going to school, I realized that there are a lot of things I don't understand as presented, and everybody would shake their heads, and I would think, "What are they talking about?" I couldn't understand concept. I couldn't understand instructions. I couldn't understand lessons as they were teaching them. So I tried to find my own way. I tried to simplify things. I tried to take my own notes. I drew things through shapes and forms and colors and stories. And I found ways to really learn things and understand things in a different way. So couldn't map life, could not find an outer map that would help me to understand it and work with it. So as a result, I went in and I thought maybe there is an inner map, and hence the name, that I can figure out. And you know what? What was interesting? That when I went in with awareness, when I went in with almost the curiosity of a child, when I went in accepting all these hardships and challenges, when I went in with a sense of compassion, I could do things, I could work out things, and I found ways. Things didn't stop happening and going wrong, but I somehow found ways to work with them. And I suppose I discovered mindfulness. It wasn't called that when I discovered it, but it was mindfulness. And then I also had many teachers, many of them belonging to certain ism, which I really respected, but I always tried to really implement my teachings in a way of secular and practical way. So had many teachers from the beginning of my life, from my grandmother to my next door neighbor, Mr. P, that you're going to hear a lot about because a lot of my stories is around my teachers. To actually Buddhist teacher, a monk, a Buddhist monk, Vivekananda, which is a very high position in the order of in Buddhism, to studying Rumi, to being curious around Sikhism, and many other isms that I actually went through learning it through many teachers. So mindfulness was working for me, and I was finding ways to work with my life and challenges of my life. And very gently and organically, I found myself actually taking it to my work with me. So I was a corporate trainer, I was a corporate coach, I ran nonprofit and for-profit organizations, and I did a lot of things. I was a human rights commissioner, I was a freelance journalist, and mindfulness always had a place in there, always was coming and showing its face there. And when I was coaching, and I didn't call it mindfulness based coaching like I do now, but I called it inner and outer. I called it form and substance. I called it many different names, and it was working. It was really working. People were coming back for it. People wanting to learn it whatever it was that I was teaching. A lot of big names, a lot of big corporations were happy to learn it and happy to implement it. So life was going well until my youngest child left home and decided to come to Los Angeles. And I had family in Los Angeles, and I thought, okay, I moved to Los Angeles as well, which, by the way, meant every time I moved a city or a continent, I had to start all over again. I had to establish my businesses. I had to start working. I had to find friends. I had to reestablish my life, which I became quite good at, and reestablishing myself in a new place. So I'm in Los Angeles, and I am establishing or reestablishing my mindfulness-based coaching. And then I hear that there's a program, a mindfulness program at UCLA. I thought, oh, wow, an amazing institution has mindfulness program. So I had to check it out and I had to join it, and I did. And I ended up actually teaching at Mindful Awareness Research Center of UCLA. And they were kind enough to let me to teach actually my own classes, because they have their own developed classes that is done through their center. But they allowed me to teach my own classes and workshops. I do a lot of practical mindfulness. They call it application of mindfulness, and also workplace mindfulness, communications, mindful aging, mindfulness and intimacy, mindfulness and playfulness. So I started doing all the things that I love to do, and realized that many students and many clients keep coming back. So I asked them, what is it that brings you back? And there were many answers, of course, but there were two common answers that really caught my attention. One was a storytelling, because you see, remember, I could only learn through stories. So, and I had gathered and collected many stories in 35 years of working in the mindfulness world. So I was teaching through these stories. And also, they said, everything you say is so simple. We get it. And remember, I told you that my dyslexia really encouraged me to simplify and clarify everything. So what was an obstacle for me became a gift for me. Basically, if I could understand it, anybody could understand it. So these two things were the gifts that I was given through my so-called disability that I call diverse ability, basically. A question was born. How can I take it to a bigger audience? And it wasn't just my question, actually. A lot of my students, a lot of my clients were asking me that. And with the help of them, and really going deep into my heart and deep into my pocket, I gave birth to innermap. Innermap app was born. And don't forget, innermap is not a normal mindfulness app. It's not a meditation app. This is a mindfulness coaching app. This is a mindfulness storytelling app, which has not been there in the market before, and nobody has done it before this. This is the very first mindfulness storytelling and mindfulness coaching app. Basically, an app that teaches you how to apply the principles of mindfulness, which is great when you sit and meditate. But my question was, how do I take that to when I'm driving? How do I take that when I'm fighting? How do I take that to really in private relationships and communications and apply it there? I always called it from boardrooms to bedrooms to courtrooms. How do we take mindfulness there and benefit from it? And so this app was born. We have many babysitters and relatives and mothers for this app. We love what we do at innermap. I have a wonderful team that is passionate about what it does. We had our ups and downs. It wasn't always perfect. We had people whose energies were not conducive to the growth of our app, or our growth for that matter, and we had to work through them like any other organization. But really, our passion got us through this, even in these hard times. And even though this is self-funded app, we're trying to do our best to add features and add contents, and we're doing that, and you're seeing that. We added the podcast because everybody said, we want lessons, we want things that you do in the classroom. I said, all right. So the podcast was born. And now they say that we want to ask questions. We want you to answer like a teacher that you are. So here you are, live stream. Please, down there's a place that says ask your questions. Please ask your questions, and I'll be happy to answer them. But something else happened that I want to really leave that with you, that I was telling stories and it's going well, but we also realized that there are a lot of untold mindful stories out there in the world that will really help and inspire our users to really implement these mindfulness lessons. So we opened our storytelling door to our users, and invited them to bring their mindful short stories and tell us and share it with us and our users. So if you or someone you know has a mindful story that can inspire and help others, please share it with us. Check innermap.me/your stories and see what is our framework and if your story fits into that framework or not. And don't forget to ask your questions, and I'll be happy to answer them in future live streams. Until the next time, stay well and stay curious.